What is up, everybody? Welcome to Brews and Board Games, an exciting video. As you guys might be able to see on the screen, I have a special guest, Mr. Jeremy Howard from Man vs. Meeple. Jeremy, thanks so much for coming on, brother. How's it going?
Oh man, thank you for having me, man. What's up, party people? How y'all doing, man? I was excited. I saw your channel and I was like, oh man, he's looking at Iridia too. We're excited together.
It
So
looks,
I was looking for, you know,
yeah, it looks so good. I am really excited about this. And if
yeah,
for you guys that don't know, Jeremy actually got his hands on a prototype copy, was able to play the game, and he is gracious enough to come on and share some of his thoughts, give some ideas, some details. So yeah, really exciting, man.
So yeah, you should notice up front, like I did a paid preview. We do some of those. We do those at Man vs. Meeple. The previews for the Kickstarter pages are all paid, and I want you to know that because I'm a hype man away from that.
Right.
Like I had to I walk that thing where I separate it just enough and then let all the other stuff, come on out because I was excited. I was just so excited about this game. It's so hard to hold that back. But yeah, I'm so glad I got a chance to preview a game
Yeah.
I've been waiting for years. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
you said you found out about this game years ago, right? When you kind of just got into board games a little bit.
yeah, yeah. So even when I started out in content creating, like this was early, like just buying games and stuff like that. And I found this game called Tavarua, which he had published, and I was looking up that game. I found Zaya. Then I became in love with Zaya. And then I found out he was making another game. So I said, what is this guy's next game? Because, of course, new-ish to the hobby, I'm buying everything I could find, right?
Right.
So buying everything I could find. And it was like this Iridia. Oh, my God, it sounds like this big fantasy war adventure. Plus, it's going to be an adventure on the ground. And it was going to be this gigantic hybrid of a game. And, I mean, like, really, it was going to be like Zaya stapled on to Final Fantasy.
No kidding.
I think, yeah, like it was going to be epic. It was something like that. It was something like that. You can look on the Kickstarter page, scroll all the way back.
Right.
Then there was like a year after that, there was a shift in what that was going to be. You kind of dialed it back a little bit from that, and then now it's this. So it's Iridia now. So there you go. It's been a while. So I've been there with that journey as it's going up and down the hot list. Like that's how big this game was. It was so important that if he had an update, it went up to the top of the hot list. It was crazy.
And
Like,
that's how I found out about it. I was just on Board Game Geek. I was looking at the hotness, and I saw this game, and it was a few weeks ago. And then I decided to make a speculation video, but that was the first time that I heard about it. And he only teased a few pictures on there, so I was like, "What is this game? It looks amazing."
and I could just so I can see from the prototype, like there's only so much you want to share because
Right.
you want people to experience it.
Right.
That's a tough thing with prototypes. It's like how much you want people to see and experience to get the whole,
Right.
as is right now. And really, actually, they want you to see the whole when they can't necessarily give you the whole at that stage.
Right.
That's the tough part about prototypes, man. I feel you, but as someone who's played a ton of them, there's some things that just aren't ready yet. Like, and nor can they be ready yet until it funds.
They're
'Cause
ready.
I tell people, you just don't know. Like,
Right.
you see how much this game is funding for. You got to see if it funds, buddy. All right.
And it's right now it's doing very well. I mean, I think they hit the goal yesterday, or it was a day before
Okay.
that, something like that. But yeah, I mean, people are excited, man. It's doing very well. I'm excited, and I think they were saying it's going to come to retail. I would assume if it's successful enough. But Zaya came to retail, so
Well, I'm thinking. I don't know if Zaya came to retail though. Did it come to retail? I think it just goes to their site.
I bought it from Amazon.
Oh no, you can get it on Amazon.
Yeah.
That's right. You're right. Yeah, but I mean, and that's a long ways away. And
Yeah, right.
of course, his games are super expensive. So if you
They
think they're
are.
expensive now, you think it's expensive now, totally understand. Retail, ultra expensive.
Well, and it says on the site, I think 240.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't even know that, but I know that already.
Yeah, and you know what? Who knows how that's going to fluctuate, right? That could
Right.
go up, come down. Who knows?
Just realize that you think board games are getting hit, other industries are getting hit. I mean, like
yeah.
if you go to the store, things are more expensive. People aren't paying attention. We're gonna have $1 bananas, people.
Oh,
Okay?
yeah.
We're gonna have
Yeah.
$1 bananas.
Yeah.
Have you ever had $1 banana? No, you haven't. You are. Okay. So that lets you know where we're going, where
Right,
we're going
right.
as a society.
Board games are
I think
not the only thing getting
right.
hit. Yeah.
Think bigger than board games. Trust me. Those banana prices are going up.
Cool, man. So let's hop into it. Before we do, I did just see you drinking a brew. What are
Yeah.
you drinking? This is Brews and Board Games.
This is good old coffee, man. We're just a regular old roast. What is it? Pike roast from Starbucks. But the problem is here, we are on a coffee journey, and the coffee journey is not good. Okay, like we're cycling through too many coffees. We don't know what the right coffee is to go with. I'm willing to order coffee from any country at this point
There you
to
go.
find the good coffee, just like I do with scotch, just like I do with beer. I will go to the ends of the earth to find the right stuff. You know what I'm
I
saying?
tell you what, this I'm drinking some coffee as well. This is called Valhalla Java. This is by the Death Wish Coffee Company. This stuff
Oh,
is pretty good, man. You should check it out. It's
oh, by
online.
Death Wish, huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
you can find it online, dude. It's good stuff. It
I'm
is
just gonna
good stuff.
put in a sampler order and see how it goes. All
That's
right.
it. That's it. So also, you have a thread on Board Game Geek where you
Lord
answer some of
Jesus.
these questions, right? So
Yeah.
you just asked everybody to ask away. You can help
Yeah.
out if you can. So I will put a link to that thread down below. But yeah, man. So let's just hop right into it. Why don't first up you just give some background on kind of how you played the game, like
Hmm.
how many players, how long
Yeah.
did you play, scenarios, stuff like
Hmm.
that.
So yeah, so I played the game with the designer, and we went through it. Like we went through a good chunk of it because he was like, "All right, do you want to play through this?" So I was like, "Well, let's just play it through a couple combats and travel about so that I understand where this is going." Then I laid it out for a Sunday and just played it until I ran out of content. Like I just played it from beginning, page by page, until it ran out of content because people are looking for a rule book. It's two chunk rule book. It's a full tutorial walking you through all the way through one combat and a little bit of moving between stuff. Then it says, "Hey, start the game,"
Okay.
and then you have another like couple hours or so of just stuff you can do. But the cool thing about this is that I played it for 5 straight hours, and I experienced after the tutorial, I experienced different stuff than where we went. So I like made a point of like, hey, I don't want to journey that way, so I'll go this way instead, and then I'll work my way back around. And what it did and I think I might have played it for more than 5 hours when I think about it, but I kind of looped around just to see things like what's this, what opens, and I had went on like a path because it made sense to me. Like, oh, I want to go, do this mission and do that one, and then I was looking for it, so I had to
Right.
go across the map like a Final Fantasy game, like going to look for things, traveling about. And then I saw something that kind of made me feel like that was too much for me at this point. So then I went the other way. So I was like, it feels like an adventure game, It's like, hey, you go where you can and try to fulfill your quest. So I spent a good five or so hours, and then I had a card that said, hey, this is it.
Okay.
So it was like, all right, cool. But I know just based on the kit that there was a whole bunch of other stuff in that kit that I did not touch on. And the reason why I know this is because everything is in those card decks.
Right.
And inside there you can see different monsters, different things and whatever, if you're not peeking at everything. But the cards had a whole different set of monsters I did not fight, and then also a boss that I did not fight. So
Interesting.
I just went to another area and whatnot. So yeah,
So
there you
is
go.
it sort of like at the beginning, like after the tutorial, you're able to just like, are you in a town or something like that? Or
Yeah, because if I remember correctly, yeah, you're just you come back from it, and then you are, you're just free to go at the end of the tutorial. It's just like, hey, go where you want to go, and they had like a certain section of the board that you could see. Other part was just kind of covered because it's prototype.
right.
But there's like a good 10 locations I could have traveled to. I think in like 8 to 10 locations I could travel to. So I was like, oh, this is great. So I can actually see a chunk of the game.
Right.
But I didn't even know that there were several boards that are going to be in the game.
And that's that
So
overworld map that
yeah,
you're yeah.
yeah. So I was like, hold up, like that's a whole different ball game. Like now that I think about it, I'm like, that's a whole different ball game. So if you're looking for like replayability, like you got to do a lot.
Yeah.
Like you got to do a lot and like kind of you would really have to make a point at this point, based on what I know.
Yeah,
You would have
right.
to really make a point to go a specific way and like try to get everything. Like
Right.
there is the try to get everything person in RPGs,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
but I think this is gonna be wide open, but you're definitely gonna find your direction from game to game.
Now, so
You know?
what when you're in the town, like do they say, okay, like they give you a little bit of backstory, right? Like you're in exile, you're trying to
Yeah,
get these squills.
yeah. So you are exiles. You're trying to get these squills, trying to like basically earn reputation, get money or whatnot. What that really means is I think you're just trying to get quests and finish
Right.
them off,
Right.
finish
Right.
off many storylines as it was, right? I feel like this game is going to be something like Skyrim-ish. Like you do have an end, but you're really going about.
Right.
That's the best way I was saying. I was trying to type that out, but it's like you're just going about. So you're discovering these towns, and the really interesting part about that is when you go on the maps, it's almost like clicking an A button and going to the map, and then when you go there, there's going to be things that pop up that like you can see them. You're like, oh, there's a point of interest here. There's an event that's there. There's a bar, a bar right there, and there's a house right here, and you can go almost like Stardew Valley-ish, and then like go inside, and then it opens up for you so you can see what's inside.
Yeah, I
And
thought
that's
that was so cool, man. It's like on
yeah,
the Kickstarter page, they actually had that house, or it was
yeah,
a tavern or something that flipped open.
yeah,
Dude, that's wild,
yeah.
man.
I know. It was, and the thing is like it's very video game-ish, and it seems super, Philly-ish than people. But I know it's fun. It's fun because you get to take the cards out and flip them over and whatever. Uh, that's that was like that's an element that's really attractive to me because that wasn't what I was expecting when I thought I'd see this game
Yeah.
when I first saw it, and when I got a chance to experience that, I was like, even digitally, I was like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's pretty cool. And then yeah, and then like the thing that's being undersold is the points of interest part when you start to interact with things because you can move freely. You don't have to use like 1, 2, 3. You
Right.
just move like, and that's a cool part. Otherwise, it makes turns long.
Yeah.
More upkeep, more, and no, there's no action push. You just kind of zipped over there, and then see what's in there. And that's where the adventure begins. It'll tell you what you see, what's happening, or there's an event and something is happening right now, and you need to address it and make choices.
I see.
Which I thought, yeah. So it's very much like entering a town and there's a chicken running and a kid. You see a kid, and it's like, hey, help me get my chicken. It's like Fable-ish, right? Like that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
even the
So
example they gave was in the I don't know if it was a house or not, but you interacted with this woman and she was basically saying like she has a pest problem and it was a bunch of
hmm
rats, right? So you have to
hmm
go down into the basement, and that was on the Kickstarter page, and I thought that was really cool. So I can kind of see, it's that kind of stuff, right? You go into the
so
yeah,
so there's that, right?
right.
Then and this is just, I'll just spoil what was in that kit. There's parts in there. I thought I mixed them up when I was talking about them too. I think now I mixed them up because you go to the bar and there's a guy there and he's like, hey, I need money for a drink. Give me a money for a drink. Well, if I didn't have any money at the time, and I was like, well, I can't get this guy any money, but he looks like he has some information.
Right.
And if you see the cards, if you give him a coin, there's something you could unlock. But if you don't, whatever. And then if you go to the bartender's like, I got this problem upstairs. This ghost upstairs. It won't leave. Nobody stays on my end, da da da. You go up there and you talk to this ghost, and the ghost is telling their story and whatever. I'm not going to spoil that, but you can talk to the ghost and coerce them to leave with a roll check. And then there's something that happens and something that doesn't happen if you get it. But what that does is it takes cards out of your deck that could have happened if
Wow.
you did or didn't, I believe. So if you one if it did, one if it didn't, but you're going to get stuff, and that's an interesting part. I even had something about that lady in the same board outside that bar. There was a kid there, and this kid was doing some stuff, and you asked him. He said, "That's my mom," and he's like,
Okay.
"Don't." He's like, "Don't trust my mom," and I'm like, "Oh."
Don't trust my
So,
mom. Wow.
yeah, so like, dude, like that was crazy. Like there was like it's just stuff like that. I don't remember all the details, but
Right.
like yeah, there was there's just stuff to discover, which was really exciting to me. And I believe it was all in that village. And I was just like, and it wasn't random, but it was random in the fact of like coming to a location and discovering something. And you're going, whoa, that's why I made a separate thing for discovery in my preview. Because I was
Right.
like, I want you to know that like there's a sense of adventure. You're going about da da da. But then you step into a spot and there's a lot more going on in these two buildings than I thought, you
Right.
know?
Now, when you have those points of interest, I know you were saying you kind of move around freely, right? So
Yeah.
each individual person. So like, could somebody go up to a certain point of interest and ask them a question,
Hmm.
and then what? So you guys decide as a group to say, okay, let's do this.
Yeah, so it's very much a group thing. So like when you adventure, you don't split up. So like if
Okay.
you're on the top world, if you're in a board, you're all going to be there. And since you can move freely on your turn, one person could go to the point of interest, one person could go to this NPC standing over here, and one person can go into a building. Like you can freely move.
Right.
So that's the thing. You freely can move, but points of interest are just that. They may set a scene, but and then NPCs are totally different. So you're
Right.
going to have two different types of interactions going on. And like I said, those points of interest are literally storytelling points to kind of give you an idea of what's going on. Or there'll be some spots right there. They may be an identifiable item. I just know what I experienced. Not too deep into that, but
Right.
yeah.
And the quest, like you said, you talked to the bar owner. She says,
Yeah.
I have a ghost upstairs. Yada. Did you find most of the quests are kind of like that? Like you on the world map, you go into a location, and then most of the quests are at that location, or is there like an
Yeah.
overall quest?
So I didn't get a sense of overall.
Okay.
Okay. Well, let's break this up.
Sure.
So there's jobs in town as well. So there was a job board, which I
Okay.
didn't explore too many, but there were several job boards in the thing that I had. So there's going to be jobs that you can take as well that are even more side questy than the ones that you get. Like I
Right.
said, it feels very much like Skyrim in that way, like open. Oh, quest. So you're kind of like filling up with these things that you could do, right?
Right.
But yeah, I didn't see how much that developed. So I was like, all right, so that's a thing. But the signs of a story, a little bit. The only thing that I saw so far was that you get these things called key cards, and the key cards have identifiers about you that you don't tell anybody else about,
Interesting.
and, and you don't know what they are. And there was no hint of anything else in the demo about it. They just said, "Hey, these cards, they're gonna have your name, and then you're gonna find out about you." And I feel like, all right. So when that identifier comes up, like one was on my wrist, one was on somebody's back of their arm, something like that, like a tattoo they may have had, or something like that. And yeah, you don't
Yeah,
know.
that's exciting because it's like you don't know when you're going to come across somebody that says, "Hey, what's that on your wrist?" Right? And then you
Yeah.
have a special interaction with that NPC or something like that.
Yeah, I thought that was super interesting because yeah, like you could come up to somebody and they'd be like, "You have the mark of
Right.
75 saints," and you're like, "Oh
Yeah.
no, you've been around for 75,000 years."
Yeah.
You're like, "What the?
Yeah, and then your mind's blown like, "Whoa."
I'm an exile. What you talking about?"
That's awesome, man. I like it seems like they're adding some unique things to this game. I think it's really cool. And it reminds me of just I mean the amount of role playing that they're putting into this
Yeah,
game. I think it's awesome because one thing that I mentioned on the video, I think is lost in some dungeon crawlers. It's kind of like you read a little bit of story, you hop in, and then you read some story afterwards. But the role
yeah,
playing thing really gets you invested into your character, right?
yeah, yeah. I think there's a lot of things that happen with your character that you could get really invested in. Partially, it really has to do with the skills development, like just the
Okay.
skills alone. But like, and we can talk about that. But the that part right there at least tells me, all right, there is some semblance of a story as it is.
Right.
But I don't know how deep the narrative is as far as this overarching world. We're talking deep into stuff. I just feel like, just like Zaya, this is a discovery game, you know?
Yeah, right, right.
that's the feeling I got. And I feel like there are some stories. You know what? Here's another thing that I think made me. As you can see, think. This is
Yeah.
prototype. Um, but I feel like you may have a chain where you learn all about yourself.
Right. Right.
That may be the narrative. You know, you may find a chain. You know, you may have a couple bosses along the way, and you close
Right.
out a big storyline, which you could do in a game. You know, I just that's what I feel like versus like I don't know, like what do you think? Like a set 40 hour, hey, this is the world, like Tainted Grail type level. No, I don't think that's not no. I don't
Yeah,
think they'll
I
be
think
shooting
they
for that.
would. I really do feel like they would at least try a little bit to have at least some overarching story, right?
Yeah.
Whatever that is, whether
Hmm.
that, like you said, that is only about discovering your character more, but then everybody discovers their character,
Yeah. Hmm.
something like that. But I think something would be kind of lost if it was just, I think the game would still be cool. But if it was just, hey, explore what you want, and there's these little deeds, right? And then you just
Yeah.
collect a certain amount of squills, and you're finished.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I don't know what that is, but
Right.
I'll tell you, based on the long time of development of Zaya,
Right. Right.
we could be waiting a while for this one, okay?
Right.
Like, yeah, so what I have in prototype, and this is just for prototypes in general, like it's crazy because you could be playing a game and then like 2 years later, it's not a totally different game, but it's like, oh wow, they changed a
Right.
lot. You
Right.
know, Wild Ascent was like that when I played that one. It was like I had played that game 3 years ago, and when I got the final copy, I was like, oh, they didn't change some things,
Right.
and they changed these things. So it was like, you just it's different. And then you have one that's like the game was done, and then they shipped it, with extra promo cards and stuff a year and a half later. Like
Right.
that's the interesting thing about prototype. But this game of this size, it's gonna take some shifts. I know it
Oh
is.
yeah.
It
Right.
just will. Like expect the game to be what you thought it was, and more, as I say. Like it just will be because of the type of game it is.
Yeah, and plus it
Yeah.
seems like Cody is really open to listening to feedback and stuff like that,
Yeah.
trying to improve the game a little bit, right? So
Yeah.
it's like if somebody has a thought, like if you provide some feedback, right? I'm
Yeah.
sure he
I have a
might take.
list.
Yeah, right, right.
I have a long list. So I'll wait till the campaign's over because it's just insane.
Right, right.
But I try when I preview stuff. If they do ask me for my opinion, because I'm big into people asking me for my opinion on their game afterwards, I'll give them a full on opinion. I'm not one of those people that's like, well, you can correct your game if you do this. I'm not that guy. Like,
Right, right.
it's your game, it's your stuff. I'm gonna let you, do what you want on your own. I just make sure I don't preview crappy games. So, there's a lot. Every game needs work because no game is perfect.
Right,
So,
right.
but yeah, like I hope he hears them because there's a lot of ideas that come from community, which is great. And
Yeah.
I think he's a community guy
Yeah.
to be up in there interacting in the chat even before this campaign started takes a champ. You know what I'm saying? So, and people are going to trash your game, but they may have good points.
Yeah.
And you need more than the 4 or 5 people that are touching this game every day to
Yeah.
come up with the ideas. And then you get a list and go, hey, let's have a meeting about this. This makes sense. Like the treasure chest thing.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, it feels weird to put my hand in a box and know that the weapons are 2 or 3 spaces wide, and then the ones that are armor are 1.
Right.
So then I feel in there and say I want a weapon, like
Yeah.
there needs to be something figured out about that, So it's like people hear that and they go, yeah, that needs to be dealt with. And I'm like, yeah, it does. And I'm sure it won't be the same. So there you go,
Yeah, and it
Like,
can only improve the game, right, by listening to the community. Because sometimes maybe you're designing something or coming up with an idea, but then you give it out to the public, and then they provide you something. You're like, man, I didn't think about that, right?
yeah,
So
that's exactly, that's what I tell people. That's what community is for. And if
right.
you care about them, and they will come, right? The more people will come. Chip Theory Games is great about
Oh,
that.
yeah, man.
They're like, the more they stay interactive every day.
Yep.
And they have their Discord. They harden their own Discord. They don't let it die every day. And they give away random free stuff all the time.
Yeah.
So it's like they are really into community, and it pays off big.
Whenever I see a Chip Theory game launch on Kickstarter, I'm immediately interested because of just their reputation as a company. I've had some broken parts before, and I've messaged them. They're so quick to respond, and it's like, and it's just a pleasure to work with them, dude. And it helps that their games are fantastic.
Yeah, it does help that the games don't suck. Yeah. My favorite publisher, some of my favorite people, I don't cover their games because they're like friends of mine. Like I can't cover their games. I love them all. I love that staff. There's people I'm really tight with on there. I can't, I just don't. It's just something I stay away from because I'd help people through them, all kinds of stuff for giveaways. I'm just down with their philosophy. So I've just decided to not cover their games.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I got you.
Like that treasure chest in the back that I had there, I did that video for them, and I was like, that's it. Like, I'm not doing anything else. We're not doing nothing else.
Well, you have to about the trove chest, man, because it's just awesome.
That was like a big payoff. So I was like, that was a big payoff of all this hard work they had done in one chest, and I felt so good to represent that. This is a moment of saying hey, we did this. Yeah. And I was like, I'll do a video for that. That's it.
Yeah, and especially when you watch some of their update videos about it, just how hard it seemed like they were working on this thing, right? And and I just hope that they come out with one for Cloudspire. That's my hope.
It's gonna need it. It's gonna need it. After those new expansions, they're gonna need it. But that's the thing. Cody is starting to do that. I saw that he had his own page and he's trying to get this stuff out. Now, does he need to get better at creating content? Yes. But that comes with time. You don't realize how much you have people invested in your product.
Yep.
So then you go holy crap, I need to really lean into this. If I'm designing and developing for the day, maybe we just turn on the camera, show them how we do our process.
People love that stuff. They love
you can do 5 hours of the process and people will watch it. People don't think that, but I'm like, yeah, they do. Yeah. There's people who watch. There's most people who don't, but there's a lot of people who are your fans that do.
Yep.
Most people don't, but your fans, they do. And you still have to, you will gain new ones because of that.
Yep.
So,
yeah. Well, cool, man. Let's how about we talk about one thing that really interests me about Iridia is the combat. I loved on the Kickstarter page and all the previews, you rolling a D20, adding a modifier, right? And then you can perform a certain pattern and you actually choose how that pattern goes. So do you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
So, so there's when you see it on the Kickstarter page, it was hard for me to do in my preview because I was trying to show, just kind of show all of it. But the weapons all have these patterns on them. And they all have a very, very low roll threshold instead of if you roll a 1, you basically don't hit.
Right.
But so anything else, 2 and above, you actually hit. So you hit starting in a pattern. Okay. So it actually will have an arrow that says you start at the top, or you start on the side, or you start at the bottom, or you start at an angle. So if you roll, let's say, above a 10 or a 12, you get the next part of that pattern. And the next part of that pattern could be that diagonal, straight, or whatever. Or it could be let's say, a zigzag if it's certain type of weapon. Who knows, right? And I didn't look through all the weapons. So people are asking me, did you see all the weapons? I'm like, actually, no. I just went with where the story took me. So, yeah. So then the combat, when you roll those, you're going to hit for that pattern. But it also is how it fits on the enemy. So you are basically trying to decide what points you can hit so that you can talk to your teammate and decide how they're going to use the same pattern on theirs to maybe, get more hits. Because there's a boss that has a 4x4 of hit patterns. So it's how do I get through that puzzle the most efficiently? Now, for naysayers, they would say, why don't you just chuck a D20 and whatever? I'm like, well, then you just made a not so innovative game. Right. Then you made all right, well, we're just rolling.
There's plenty of other games like that out there.
There's plenty of other games that do that. And it may seem fiddly. And that's the kind of stuff that I want to try, as I tell people, that's what I want to try. And when I tried it, it was fun. So, they may have to work with the sizes to make it match up or make the cards a little bigger. But I found that it worked because here's the cool part is when it crosses, there's weak points. And the weak points make them make the enemy sometimes stronger. But there's also these critical patterns where there's like a little spot in the middle between the two hits, and if you get through that pattern, you get to hit another spot. So it's like you can get like multiple, kind of hit through critical points, so you can kind of speed up the combat, which is really interesting. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, I love that idea. Did you see anything else besides like those critical points? Like, is there anything else that it might do?
No. Not at all. So that little critical part there was what I thought was good enough. Like to me, that's good enough because
Yeah.
the different weapons will bring more.
I see.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
that's how I see it. Like when I saw the weapons that I saw, I pulled a couple more out for like a shop that you could go to, and it just showed me like, okay, so you're going to have these different sets of patterns that hook you up. And since you can only, let's say a person can only attack from the top. Well, if they can only start from the top, then you got to find a way to like make it so that first row is going to be filled so that the next time they attack, they can go down one more and attack. Right. It's like, okay, so there's a little bit of puzzle to this combat. Like, how are we going to attack it with 2 players, 3 players, by myself? So you got like, you got to figure this out. And I thought that was a really interesting thing. It's going to be hard to balance.
Right.
It's going to be hard to balance, especially if you're going to go down to 1 player. There may be like a solo only card flip over and it's a solo only version.
That would be a good idea, actually.
Right. I'm going to send that to him, by the way. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, seriously.
That was a coffee thought. Right? That was a coffee thought, like first good thought of the day. That was a coffee thought.
I like that idea, and I also like the idea of just the patterns, like you were just saying. I mean, I think planning that out with your team, like, okay, well, where do we want to put the gems, right? Or like, because you put gems on them, right?
Yeah. So you're trying to figure out where are we going to try to attack so we can get the most efficient way to take this enemy out.
Yeah, that's fun. That just sounds fun to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I like. Yeah, and then that also gives you an idea of like what combo of characters do I want to use, Right. And I only got to see 4 characters, and I didn't use one of them. So I didn't use the elf character, but they even have like a cool pattern thing that they have, and I was just like, that's pretty slick, man. I mean, also AI to me is really important because you have to have quick AI turns. I don't like long AI turns. I don't like if then. Sometimes in bigger Euros it's okay. But in dungeon crawls, I do not want anything complicated. I shouldn't have to read 50 cards or whatever. Like Madara is the only one that gets a pass. Madara is the only one that gets a pass for that. It's a little complicated, but it's not. It's just that they have like a complicated monsters that do these things. But like, it's not a ton. It's just as soon as you get through too many if-thens, I'm like, come on. Yeah, this one is super fast. And this is something that's not talked about a lot, is that combo meter and threat deck.
Yes.
That part right there, I don't know if it's going to change, but it makes things very interesting because that goes to your skill development and stuff like that. It's low-key the one that I could not talk about as much as I wanted to without making the video long, but like, you get a combo meter for movement, which I think is something I have to work on. Like you move and you get a combo meter. It doesn't make sense to me. But the threat part, like you flip over a card, they get this threat. So they're getting threat, you're getting this combo. Well, the combo stuff is used for your attacks.
Yes.
And you can use your skills. And cool thing about the skills is that you have to like awaken them. Like you have to set up a condition where it's like, hey, you have to attack this person 2 times from the back to learn this backstabbing super move.
I did not know that. That's cool, so man.
It's on the tile. So like when you get your upgrade, you don't have it right away. Like you have it, but you have to do a specific feat in order. Like feats.
Feat.
So it's like you do a specific feat, and then it flips it over, and now you have that ability. That part needs to stay. Like that part needs to stay right there.
I agree.
But going back to the AI, that definitely needs to stay. That was fun. But the AI, you just flip the cards over, and they spend their threat or action points in a sense to do specific attacks. And the higher it is, the bigger the attack is. And it has like a nice layout of what the attacks are. Nice diagram. It was so easy to interpret. That is something that needs to stay. As a matter of fact, all the cards that they have for like all the skills and abilities, all that needs to stay because it works. It's clear. Just like Zaya, where they have like the cards that explain everything that's going on
Yes,
and like the
yes.
steps, still there. It needs to stay there. It looks like on the back of the cards they were blank, but like add the picture of it, an example.
Right,
Yes, that leaves a lot of cards, but it leaves you less in the rule book, which is
right,
very important
right.
to me.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I'd
Um,
rather have a deck of cards in front of me versus like, where's the rule book? Like, I'd
oh
rather
yeah,
just
flipping
flip it
through
over and be like,
pages.
oh,
Yeah,
okay, okay. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah.
100% agree, man. So the threat, do they when they acquire the threat, and that's just what turning over a threat deck, right? And it says to
Mhm.
go up a certain amount. Do
Yeah.
they lose that as they use a certain ability?
Yeah, so they pay and lose. Like there's actually bosses. There's boss, and then there's mobs. So mobs will be like rats, and then they have these other warrior kind of lizard guys there. And mobs attack when they say mob attack. So they kind
Right.
of they kind of build it up, build it up, build it up. Well, you know there's a mob in there, and you know that there's a boss in there. So you know there's going to be these cards, and that's when they release their stuff and they do these attacks. So everybody's doing this level of attack. So if it's 3, they spin the 3, and then they all do their 3 attack. Which can be a lot more powerful. Like rats have what's called a frenzy, so they kind of try to put themselves where everybody's kind of like on all 4 sides, and then they attack both. So they're like biting, boom, boom, boom. And dude, that's where this game I think is cool. I hope they keep it. Is the body dice. Um,
Yes.
I hope they
Yes.
keep that because the body dice was a smart thing that I wasn't expecting. So like the rats use this yellow dice. Well, that's all the lower extremities. So it's like a rat. It can bite you on your feet, like
Yeah.
on your feet and your hands maybe if you let it. Well, that's where it's going to attack you in one of those spots down there. And that makes total sense. Whereas like a warrior can hit you possibly on your head in this area. And I was like,
Yeah, and I
yeah,
like that too because it's like you can't neglect certain parts of your body because you don't really know which enemies are going to attack which parts, right? I mean, you
right,
can see the card, right,
right.
that they're
You can
going to
see
roll
the
a certain.
card. Yeah.
But throughout your adventure, you can't just say, "Well, I'm going to get a helmet and like,
Yeah.
yeah,
You just plan, right? You just plan as much as possible.
yeah,
Like you want to have like in an RPG, like you're
yeah,
like, I want to have a helmet because this guy just gets destroyed on his head. And
right,
that's the thing. Like when you get attacked, you're deciding who hits what. So it's like where they're hitting or not. If you have armor on, you could take the attack, but you're real squishy in the beginning of this game.
is that right?"
So any armor that you can get, the better. I mean, hopefully they balance that out. Maybe they have a way of saying, hey, you're a little bit higher level if you play 2-player or whatever. But like, yeah, you're super squishy in this demo, so you got to really watch it. As soon as you get that armor, you want to disperse it very freely.
Right.
You want to make sure somebody has some armor on stuff. I was also playing with 2 of the lower health characters, so I happen to love rogues, and I happen to like people who shoot gigantic spells, which are 2 of the weakest, health wise.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I would say definitely the armor stuff probably needs a little bit of work, or the health stuff needs a little bit of work. But yeah, I found that system overall was pretty dang on cool. Like I thought combat was cool, and that's what needs to be cool in
Yeah.
order for you to like even attempt to like the game, right? Like, and that when that was a selling point to me. I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, yeah, that's what I want. I want something different,
Yeah.
slightly different. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that idea of just like there's a bunch of unique things. I mean, the combat on your turn, right? You get to do the patterns, right?
Yeah.
And then you got to plan out with your teammate when they attack, depending on their threat level, and then they roll a die to determine
Mhm.
where it goes. I just love the whole idea of combat. Was it fast?
Yeah, it doesn't feel like, we'll put it like this, other than talking about like, hey, I'm going to attack right here, or I'm going to attack this rat and set it up so that when you attack, it'll, maybe hit like a critical point. Other than that, like the actual combat is not long at all. Like I mean, other than like when I fought the rats, um, the rats take about, they took about like 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay.
Because you had to fight some in a hallway. Then you get down the hallway, and then there's another set of rats, and then a king rat in a sense.
King
So
rat.
it's like a king rat. And yeah, that took about like a 45 minutes to an
Well, and
hour.
that's one scenario, right? Like
Yeah,
tip
and
that's
dude, I'm sorry. Like if you told me that this was gonna be, I know they always set these play times,
yeah.
and it's like, I guess if you get better at the game, it's super fast. But like for me, I mean, I had a grip of the rules, and that took about an hour to get through.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that felt good. It just felt good. Like it wasn't hard, and like I said, you're gonna have pleasing turns once you get those skills unlocked,
Right.
and you start using them for what they are, like the rogue being in shadow and then doing the backstab. Like the feeling of knowing what the backstab is like is awesome. Like does it feel awesome when you do it? Do you feel awesome when you shoot spells? Like yes. If the answer is yes, and then you're good. You're good to go. I think that whatever they polish is fine, but they should keep most of it.
It seems like they will. I mean, I think they know they have a good system in that, right? So it seems like they probably would keep that. Now the combo, right? Because as
Yeah.
you said, like the movement increases your combo. I would hope and assume maybe attacks that you do as well. Now is
Yeah.
that and that's for the community, like that's a pool that everybody can use, right? So
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, the
Yeah. So
skills,
that's the
this,
thing.
yeah, the skills seem pretty cool. Like, not only you can just do a regular attack on your turn, right? But also you have the potential to do this super
Mhm.
hard skill, like you were kind of
Yeah.
talking about. But it's like, hey, can I use three combo points, right? Or two combo points to do this to the enemy?
Yeah, so that would be something else you would want to talk about. So it's like you definitely want to say, hey, like we're getting enough threat because you're moving, and every time everybody basically takes a turn, they're going to move. You have action points. So let's say the more characters you have, let's say you have 3 characters, and you're going to do 3 action points. If you have two and one, you're going to have three.
Right.
So, so you have, first one's probably going to be movement, or if you're standing in the same spot, you're going to use all those to attack. I would love to see if you did not move, you get the combo. Maybe if you did not move, one character adds to the combo. Like
Right. Right.
we have 2 characters that I ain't even seen. I don't even know. They didn't even tell me that. Like they hinted at them. I saw that on the page. I think there's
Yeah.
2 more characters. But I don't know what they are. I don't know like
Yeah.
anything about them. They didn't even hint at them. I didn't even ask them. I just thought there was going to be 4 characters. So you may have different characters that do interesting things with that meter alone. So I like that combo meter exists. Like I said, they can change some things about it. I just hope they keep it because yeah, you're spending it, and not
Yeah.
everybody spends it. It's just that person. So yeah,
Yeah, and it feels pretty balanced to me too, because it's like, yeah, everybody has a chance to do their attack, like I was saying, but it's not just like everybody can come do this powerful
yep,
special
right,
every time.
right. There are some that are. The thing is, there are some that are free. So there's free.
Oh, I see.
Like there's some that are free, and most of them are going to be healing or like adjacency things. So it's not like they're basically innate skills because even the races have a skill. Like
Okay.
they have their own little skill, which we can talk about. But like each race has their own like innate skills as well. So like for healing and for not being seen and heard and
Right.
stuff like that. And that has to do with like choosing your race at the beginning of the game. So you also have that on top of what you are. So yeah, there's a lot to be discussed with combat, man. There's a lot.
Did you generally feel like it was easy, or like it was
Yeah.
a perfect
No, it was easy to get grasp of because you know what you can do on your turn.
Right.
You're attacking. I'm sure if there's a shield there, you might do like a prepare thing or something
Right,
like
right,
that. Who
right.
knows? Like who knows? I feel like it's so close to RPG-ish that I think everything that you're seeing in an RPG video game, you will see some semblance of that feels familiar in
I get
this.
that feeling as well. Well, how was
Yeah.
how was the actual, like, the enemies, like the
Oh,
difficulty? Did you think it was
so
too easy?
I think the rats are pretty easy. So
Okay.
I
Okay.
think the rats are easy enough. They're pesky, and when they crowd up on you, like rats would do in a
Right.
video game, like they get real rough. Because, like I said, you're squishy. So actually, I shouldn't say they're that easy because they were almost killed us when I played with the designer. They killed us, and they knocked me down. Like they knocked me down. And this is kind of a fail forward type game anyway. Like
Okay.
so you get knocked down, you can get back, you can be healed to get back up. But you got to realize you have no armor. So, like
Ah.
you've got hit through your armor. So, if you've been blocking the whole time, well, now your armor is still compromised. So you got to still fight and hopefully you survive. But yeah, and that puts your other character under pressure,
Right.
as well.
Right.
So it's like other characters under pressure. So there's still like, it makes the combat difficult based on situation.
Yeah.
Based on
Yeah.
situation. So, yeah.
Okay. And I did
Yeah,
see
I should say it
something.
was a cakewalk.
Yeah, and I did see something. Like you just mentioned, it is a fail forward. Like if everybody gets knocked out, you're not dead, right?
Yeah.
I think I read somewhere that there was going to be maybe a card revealed that explains how
Yeah.
to continue.
Yeah, that part I don't remember,
Right.
but you don't lose, and I think you reset.
Okay.
I just
Okay.
think they're great. I can't remember. I don't want to speak
And
for them. Like,
I don't mind that stuff in games as long as there's some sort of consequence. You know, like I don't mind.
yeah,
Okay, everybody dies. You know, you're not dead, right? You don't have to
right.
start over, but some sort of consequence.
So So in the game, they have this thing when you're traveling, you flip over cards, and based on the tokens that you have on the path, like the tokens have these little icons on them,
Yeah.
and when you're traveling, you're going to flip a card, and the card is going to have the same patterns on there, and if it's not there, then you have to flip over these tokens, and if you go too many times and that token pops up again, you're going to get a card added to your threat deck, and what it means is
Ah,
it's like you're fatigued. You get fatigued. So you like lose an action point in the combat. So there may be something like that. Like if you lose, then you get like a fatigue or something added in there, and you can only heal it when you go to town. Something like that,
right.
right? Like
Right.
that feels like what it would happen. Like
Yeah.
so like I feel like if they have something like that kind of consequence built in for travel, they'll probably have some consequence like injured card,
Yeah.
and it
Right.
goes in there. Like I think well, we're gonna write that one down too instead of the
Can't use a skill or something like that, right?
right. Like that's the
Yeah.
thing. Like it's ideas that just stay in the brew, and
Yeah.
I think that's another one I may
Get your
pass
list
along.
together, man.
Yeah.
Get
Like they don't ask you for it, but if you do, I will write these things down and let you know what I think should be in.
That's
Yeah, man.
awesome. That's awesome. I guess let's talk about the leveling up the character. So you
Okay.
probably leveled up a few times, right?
Mhm.
Now, do you level up in town? How easy is it to kind of level up?
Yeah, there's a camp that you go to. I'm assuming there'll be several in the game. And what
Right.
you're doing is like you go there, you turn in XP. So you get XP when you defeat monsters, but you turn it in. Like you spend it. Okay.
Right.
And on the back of your card, it has this levels on there. Now you also get to pick up a skill from the skill tree. Like so it's like a tree. And they have a board for it. Honestly, I think they should get rid of that board. It makes up too much space, and it just takes up too much space. But the tiles should still exist. I'm thinking maybe I don't know how they'll do it, but it's like there's some way where that board needs to be eliminated. Like that extra, it's just an extra board. Like it should not just be, and even though they have these great storage for the tiles, I mean the boards, and I'm like, oh, that's nice. Maybe they just keep it that way, and then you pull it out when you want it.
Yeah, I mean, it is a triple layered board, right? So
Yeah, it's
it's
a
like,
triple layered board. So yeah,
yeah,
you could probably just, boom. So you can have three in there. And that just shows you that the quality that they're looking for and
yes.
shooting for.
We'll get to
But
that. Yeah.
yeah, they're shooting for the quality there. But I think that they can kind of squeeze it a little bit.
Yeah.
But anyway, you get the skills. You add one skill, and you have to keep this kind of chain of what you want, which is cool. It's like very video game-ish. But you also get to upgrade. And this is the cool thing. So like, when you go up in levels, you get to choose between your health, magic, and special points, something like that. Then you get one of those. But then the other skills, the strength, wisdom, and all the other stuff, intelligence, when you upgrade, you can keep upgrading the same skill over and over again and move it up. And these skills help you with your rolls.
Right.
So like a staff will be wisdom. So if you have wisdom 1, you add +1 to your roll for wisdom. It's very RPG standard,
Right.
D&D affairs. But if you chose another skill for, let's say, level 3, it has a catch-up mechanic to where you don't start at the bottom. You start at like where it lines up at level 3.
Interesting.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I was like, see, that's cool, because that right there, I don't know if it stays, but I like that.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's like,
on intelligence, like as a rogue, if I take on intelligence, like I want it to catch up. I don't want to start at intelligence 1. Like I'd rather.
yeah, that's
have
like,
that.
it's like D&D, right? When you subclass and you're like, oh, I'm going to take a skill in that. But then it's like you get the bare minimum when you just
Right.
start out, right? So, but this
Yeah.
is like, hey, if you want this, you can definitely explore it in this campaign. You don't have to just have
Yeah.
a little bit. I like that. I think that's cool.
Yeah, I like that idea. So hopefully that stays, because that makes leveling up cool.
Yeah.
That's a thing. Like that's another check for me. I was like, even leveling up is kind of cool.
Oh,
Right?
you're looking
So,
forward to it, right? You're
right.
like, what
Yeah, you're
else
looking
can I,
right.
what else can I add?
Right.
That's
You have
awesome.
all this XP in there, and you're like, oh, I can't wait to spend this on this stuff, because it's it's like, hey, you kind of know, you're looking on the back of your car, and it's like, I could get this, like, and you got a new weapon maybe, and it's
Right.
using strafe, so you're like, oh, I can use strafe, but now it catches it up, so you're not weak, like,
Yeah.
yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. The role play points, right? Because
Okay.
this is a big thing in that I'm noticing, right? They're really going for a
Yeah.
lot of role play.
Yeah. Okay. So role playing is divisive. Okay.
Really?
I think it's cool, but I also think it's going to be tough to sell it to solo players because solo players want the like near and far. They want to not see everything.
Right.
They
Right.
want to know, like, when they make a choice, they don't see the answer. I don't know how they're going to deal with that. But what I would say is that can be dealt with different types of cards for solo players.
Yeah.
But I also think you're going to go, like, if you're playing Mass Effect and you don't have a timer, you are basically Mass Effect with no timer. You're going to ask them everything, right? You're going to ask them every possible thing. So if you're asking them every possible thing, you're going to get a role playing point. If you're playing with somebody else, you're going to. The thing about it is the choice you make, and you'd have to not be a cheater, pumpkin eater, could lead to getting a role playing point, and that may be all you want, and then you do it. But you also could possibly unlock an event, and they may put you in a situation.
Okay.
So it's like. Unless you're cheating, that could have been like, hey, you triggered this person, they're pissed off, roll for this. Now that character becomes NPC B,
Right.
and they don't like you, so they don't help you, So that's the role playing part. Now, if you're in a team, you just have somebody else read it, and if they go and they flip it over, that question was asked, that person gets the role playing point, and that gives you +3 in combat or +3 to any check. So I think there's some work to be had there, but it's a cooperative game. So there are things that are going to be very cooperative-esque, as I tell people. Like, you got to realize that you can play the game as a solo player, but it's cooperative first, meaning more than one. It doesn't say solo adventure. It's really cooperative adventure. So I have to let publishers out with that. It's like you play a lot of these campaign games. Very few of them are truly true solo.
Right.
They are very much cooperative, play two-handed.
Yes.
And,
yes.
We can't make all these solo one character. I mean, Gloomhaven can be played with one character only.
Yes.
Just
right.
good luck with that. Like Too Many Bones can be played with one player only, and it's scaled that way. It was actually built as a solo game from the ground up. Right. So a lot of people don't know that. It was built as a solo game from the ground up. They made it so each character could play on their own. Then they went with the adventure. So it was like, and you can tell the difference. You just can tell the difference. It's very hard to make a game this big sometimes with just made for one player to go on a journey. But hey, man, he did it in an expansion before, so there is proof that it can be done.
I would applaud any attempt, right? And like you said, I think there are some things that they could do to try to get solo, but like it might just always be best as an actual cooperative.
Right.
But as far as the role playing, like you were saying, the other person just reads a card. Is there any kind of ability to just kind of like, if you read a card and the person says, hey, they're suave, I think it was one of the examples. Okay. Can the person playing that character just kind of make up some stuff, or is it just strictly dedicated to the card?
So two things. It tells you the character because they want you to kind of give you an idea, like how you're role playing, who like what you're gonna be. You'll be a suave guy. You're gonna be reading this thing like, hey man, we're gonna doing this and this, right? But that's for you and your group. Like, how deep do you get into this stuff? Do you play D&D, man? Do you play all these different things? Are you in or out? That's how I tell you. Are you in and out? Are we reading the card, or are we like reading the card? Like that's the thing. Like you can't project that. It is a role playing point. Play the role. Like he even asked me to read the card. They had a guy. His buddy was reading the card or whatever, and like doing it. Like that's cool.
Yeah,
that's fun. By yourself, you can't, right?
Yes.
Like unless they got a foreteller app to kind of put on the awesomeness, right? But that's the thing. It's like, how deep do you want to go into that? The role playing point is there. It's something. It's not everything. Right. And I understand how it's a carrot on the stick, and you're wondering why can't I have the carrot? Like, I just want to know that I can have the carrot if I want it. And I get it. Like, role-playing points is a thing. It's going to be divisive no matter what. I can tell you that. As is, it's just going to be divisive.
Yeah, you already see some threads on there, like, what all is involved with this? I actually thought it was going to be a little bit more than that. I actually thought it was going to be like, hey, maybe we'll give you a line or two of dialogue, but after that, ask away now. But now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know how that would actually pertain. Like if they just gave me a character and I just started saying stuff, how would that actually? How would I know what would pertain to the quest or
Right.
story?
There's also an instance where you like it was like you have to solve a riddle and you have to guess, and if you guess it right, then you flip it over. So it's like for a solo player, that's fine. You just
Yeah,
guess or
right.
whatever. But like you are representing the character, the other person's representing the character. I mean, other than
Yeah,
like trying to sound like the character, that's the thing. It's role playing. Like I
yeah,
don't know. Like that's
yeah,
kind of how I see it. It's role playing. I don't.
yeah,
I mean, I'm gonna leave it up to them
yeah,
to figure that part out. I don't think anything's wrong with it either way for
yeah.
speaking for solo and cooperative, but I also feel like people are going to feel cheated if they don't get the role playing point every time because of course everybody wants everything, right? So
Yes, yes.
they don't want to lose out, but man, I mean, come on, man, like throw a bone here. Everything can't be catered, like
Yeah,
it just
yeah.
can't. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if I was playing it and so it's like, okay, so and so was gonna read as a character, and they just said, "Yes, you walk into the." I'd be like, "Come on, man, get into the
Yeah, yeah,
character."
man. Yeah, it's like you got to be in,
Yeah,
have
yeah,
some fun, that's why I have a drink or two at game night. So
yeah.
we can get a little loose, we can be loose and be fun and silly. And
That's it, man.
yeah, they have details about the character. It's like, all right, then get in it, get in
Yeah.
it a little bit,
Well,
the
and
guy,
luckily
like,
yeah. Go ahead, go
okay.
ahead.
I was gonna say, like the guy that you meet at the beginning of the game, he's like kind of rough, and it's like,
Right.
take that guy's name and be like, hey,
Right.
be rough. He's a trainer. He doesn't care about you,
Right. Right. And I was going to
So
say,
yeah.
luckily, the group that I would play with, we play D&D, so it's like they're
Oh,
kind of used to that stuff
yeah,
already, so they'll
they're in.
eat that stuff up, man.
They're
Yeah.
locked in.
Yeah.
What's interesting is that like I was just thinking about that guy in the bar we were talking about a while ago, and I think he even asked you like he pays attention to like what you like what kind of like what level you are. I feel like there's characters that pay attention to what level you are. I can't
Interesting.
remember for sure, but I think so. So it's like, hey, this game remembers what you've done, sort of, or it's like telling you, hey, you're not strong enough yet for this, that
Right.
kind of thing. Like I would give you this quest, but you're not strong enough yet. But yeah, I like that too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I think, and you've played the prototype. I think there's just going to be so many things that we're just going to be able to
Yeah.
discover. And like you said at the beginning, right? What's the amount that they're trying to let you like see in the game, but
Right.
with also holding stuff back. So, I mean,
Yeah.
while there's all this stuff, I really think there's going to be just a lot of stuff that we can't even foresee.
Yeah, I'll tell you, like all this preview coverage, it'll come back to haunt me if the game stinks, right? But the thing is that I have played where it is right now,
Right.
and I've seen it. I'm a man of 3 years of hype inside of me, and I got a chance to play the prototype. And this is what I've seen up to this point.
Right.
I could have even interpreted some of this stuff wrong. So it's like because it's going to go on a journey on its own, like
Yeah.
for a long time. Half the board was just pieces,
Right.
covered up. So I don't even know, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I can play. I've played, and I can also speculate off of what I played, and I also have some ideas. So
Yeah.
hopefully, a lot of those things come together. Some of those things will not, and they will be as is, just maybe sharpened a little bit for balancing. So I am telling people, say, hey man, like this game is going to go through a lot of development, and make sure you give this guy a lot of feedback
Yeah.
of what you think may happen, so that you can, maybe be part of the experience.
Yeah.
For people, you are sort of play testers, even by just giving feedback right away.
Yeah.
Not even seeing. So Mike from One Stop Co-op, I think Mike or Steve, somebody from One Stop Co-op Shop is going to be doing a playthrough. I would say watch that. Although
Yes.
if they just do the demo part, it's going to be very, very little of the game. Like it's not going to be enough. I don't feel like it's going to be enough of the game to sell you on the game, but you'll at least get an idea of like this is how you interact with the world. This is how you do some combat. But
Yeah.
it will give you something.
Well, and I would hope people would understand by now that when you are playing kind of like the first scenario or demo, that's just going to be a little bit of a little piece of it, right?
yeah,
Like there's
little-
so much. So if you kind of like what you're seeing, expect more than that and expand it on stuff, so yeah.
Yeah. I don't feel like tutorials really sell games, but
No,
I
no.
don't really feel like tutorials sell games. But I'm hoping Descent does. I paid $140 for it. I hope it does, but I've heard I heard that like the scenario is like 3 hours long, so that probably will give me a good idea where I'm at.
Right.
But I feel in general, I don't feel like tutorials do the best of selling a game.
Yes.
In most cases, that's just my opinion on stuff like that.
Yeah.
So this one, at least the tutorial walks you to the basics, and you don't feel like you need the rule book as much afterwards.
That's good. That's good.
That's the coolest part. It's like, oh, outside of this and that, you're like, oh, how do I? Good. That's actually a good thing I think people should know. It's like people are talking about like a lot of upkeep and things like that. I feel like this game can be so organized.
Yeah.
Once you play it once or twice, like you can start to be like, hey, we'll just move this here, move these cards over here, and most of the things go back in the deck anyway because you have a little spot where you can put all your stuff that you're saving.
Right.
You can just put it away and then grab it when you need it. A lot of stuff, like when they showed the board, they did the biggest disservice to this game visually. They put everything out from the demo on the table, and I'm like, nobody has that size table.
Yeah, it's too much stuff.
I have a 4x6, so I have a big table.
Yeah, right.
But I'm not laying all that stuff out. I need people to be able to sit at the table with me. So it's like, and when I'm playing by myself and I'm playing 2 or 3-handed, I don't want to have my entire table covered by boards.
Yeah.
Like I play Madara, like that's almost too much on the table.
Right.
But it needs to be there versus like a game where I know that all that doesn't need to be there.
Yeah.
You know, like when I saw that picture, I was like, that's a total disservice to how big this game could be if you laid everything out, but you would not lay it out like that. But
yeah, I can.
It shows you, I guess they wanted to show you like all the components or something like that. I just felt like that was not a good move.
Right. Yeah, I could see maybe on the world map, you take your token, hey, we're going to explore here, maybe push that out of the way or something like that. So you can lay out how big were the actual, like when you went inside of that world map tile, how big was that?
So let's see, the tile, let's see. Yeah, like that. It wasn't really that big.
Right.
But once again, you can just put that down in the box, pull it out, pull out the one you need. There's actually like a deck in there, like in a sense. Like, so inside the box is like a deck, active and dead. So even the box, active, dead, think cards you're going to bury because the quest is over or whatever. So they have that inside the tile boxes. I don't know if that stays or not, but like you pull those out. If you don't need those, you just put them back in the box, pull them out when you need them. It's just like Gloomhaven cards. Like you don't have the whole deck out of monsters. You pull out the ones you need. It has an organizer. So there's that. And then, like I said, the 3 boards, you can put those on top. You can kind of set them up how you want. You don't need all that stuff out. Like even the overworld map. Once the overworld map is not being used, put it in the corner of your table, out of the way. You don't need it for a while. You come back, put all that stuff back in, put the world map back out. And your flow after a while.
Right.
You know what doesn't need to be out. It will not be that. It'll be made for a bigger table, but not destroy the entire table like they had on there. I'm like, what is that, an 8x8 table you guys are trying to?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's a big old table that you're showing this on with everything out. But anyway, whatever. That's marketing, and that's marketing for this.
Yeah, they got to show off the components, right? Hey, this is all the cool components that you'll get in the game. Now, I think you were just mentioning the tiles that you have your mini on and stuff like that in the tuck box, right? So as you explore a place, you just pull out say it's the tavern, right? Is that just in a tuck box? How easy is that to just say, hey, we're exploring this location, we got to find these boards, right?
Yeah. And like I said, the prototype was like weirdly, they had it all, whatever. The cards were printed out. It's not like, so it's just literally like in a thing, like as if you were going through a file. Okay. And then you're just looking at the numbers on there. Because on all the things, it'll say, like, let's say points of interest. It'll be a POI. You open up a POI, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and you just pull the card out.
Okay.
So it's the same thing inside of that box. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you just pull that one out. Then once it's done, or that place is destroyed by a meteor, whatever, you would put it back in the back. Or it'll say, hey, flip it over. It even tells you kind of like what the scene is at that place. Right. So it'll kind of say on the back, maybe it just has some words, but then it may be a beast, and then you flip that over, like that kind of stuff. So there's some systems in there that kind of go like, hey, grab this from here, and it's not in the front, it's actually towards the back, and you grab it and pull it. I see. There's some things, that are unlocked.
So there is a location that gets destroyed by a meteor. You're confirming that?
Not confirmed. There are no meteors in here. Who knows? Who knows?
Right.
Maybe it does open up to Zion. We just missed Baby, it opens the Zaya. Confirmed. Confirmed.
Opens the Zaya. I love it. That would be
You
awesome,
build,
man.
you build a rocket ship, and all of a sudden now it is Zaya. All right, yeah. Confirmed.
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 That's cool, man. Well, let's talk about. We were just mentioning the tuck boxes, so let's talk about the putting away. Right? Did you
No.
have a chance to like? Okay, I'm kind of done for the night.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put this away. How easy is that to
Yeah.
just kind of put away?
Total prototype tuck boxes, but everything that you get, like your weapons and stuff, go inside of the box.
Okay.
You also have your own path box, so your own weapons that you have and all the stuff that you can gain from treasures, because there are treasures that you get specifically for you, which I thought was awesome, because there's there's treasure boxes and then there's your treasure boxes, and that may change, whatever, but it's like that you have that. Those all, that's its own box, but yours, you just throw your dice, you throw your weapons, boom, throw it in the box, close it, your D20, done. You know, like wherever your character is developed, seems pretty easy because everything's inside of your board. Put that stuff together, pancake it together, throw it in your slot, done.
Easy.
You know, like, and I think I'm saying that and people are like, no, it doesn't seem that easy. I'm like, yeah, once you play a campaign or game or two, you got your speed, you got to figure it out.
Yeah.
But the first time you do it, it does seem like a long time, because you're like, where am I putting this? What do I know? But saving cards, put them in the saved card area, you know. And like I said, tuck boxes, you throw your D20, throw your weapons in there. As a matter of fact, you won't even need to throw your weapons in there because they'll be inside of your board.
On your character already, right?
Yeah. So you're basically, you just putting your dice away, you know, putting the pips away.
Yeah.
So, you know, they have a spot to be, because you got like 20 of them for, you know, other stuff. So you throw them in the box, throw your dice in the box. Probably have a save sheet somewhere.
Right. Right.
Done.
Can you have more than one weapon equipped at a time?
They have them in the no.
Okay.
Or maybe because that other part on the, like, there's two sides.
Right.
So maybe they actually have it where the two weapons, because there's like a weapon grid. They might just be two smalls.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, because the equipment is like small. They're small.
Right.
So if it's a, what is it, like a 2x8, then there'll be like one that's 2x4 and then another 2x4.
Maybe a certain class or something will be able to.
Right, a certain class, and then like they have a backpack that you can put stuff in.
Okay.
You know, that kind of stuff. So.
Oh, and that's what, to put it away. So like if you have a weapon that you're not using, put it in the backpack.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So they have a backpack, which I did not utilize. Whatever, but they have stuff like that as well.
Okay.
So I was like, all right. I was like, all right.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds cool.
Yeah. That's the thing, man. Like some of the stuff they have, it needs to be answered, like live stream Q&A.
Right.
But like, I guess for me, so I can speak freely as I can, like, this stuff is not, it's a concern to have, but I think you have the solution. That's how I would say. You have the solution. The nitpicks that you have, valid, all valid, but you will make up solutions, and they'll be super quick decisions that you've always made as a person who plays these types of games.
Yeah. Right. Okay, cool. Well, on that, the components themselves, how nice are they?
They're thick and high quality as you can expect. I don't have all the metal and stuff like that. That may be in the game, but like, I'm not questioning that at all based on Zaya. Like, I'm not questioning on the thickness. I'm not questioning the like the miniatures. People were worried about the little heads and stuff like that. It was prototype, but they were good. They were good. And I'll be honest with you, like the paint job on those, they're standard affair. They're not insanely great, but at the same time, like, time has moved on. There are some absolutely insane paint jobs. They cost a lot of money. They cost way more than Zaya, trust me. Because I don't know many people who are buying painted stuff for Tainted Grail. They paint it on their own. Right. But this is what this publisher does.
Yeah. And Zaya were fine. The minis in Zaya were absolutely fine.
They were great. Yeah. Great. Yep. So I was like, you got to realize this is what this publisher does. Yeah. I understand you want options. You want to paint your own. That's a different SKU. It costs a lot of money.
You have so many. You have almost every single other game for that. Maybe just one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, and I get it. They're fantasy tropes and stuff. And I totally get that. I'm just saying, like, bigger fish to fry in this thing, man. Like,
well, and the heads and the swappable heads. What are you actually doing with the mini? That, like, it's like you're just moving it around.
and I like to have the race skill. So it's
Yeah.
like I want to look like a lizard. If I'm a lizard race, I
Yes.
want to look like a lizard race. And
Yeah.
what the little thing is, it fits. They all fit. So if they all fit in prototype form, I'm not worried about them not fitting. I mean, handle with care, like you do your cards.
Yes.
It's like handle with care.
Yeah.
You know.
How awesome was it to just slot in the stuff on the
It was
boards, man?
cool. It was so cool.
Come on.
Like I had a whole bunch of B-roll of stupid stuff I was doing with it, and I was like, I'm not gonna put this in. Nobody cares. Like, like I was having to like travel and
Right.
I was gonna like put music, and I was like, I'm doing way too much. Like, like I'm doing way too much.
Yep.
But I was having so much fun with that idea. I wasn't prepared for that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I wasn't prepared for that. There's a lot of things that happened in this thing that I was just not prepared for, and I was like, "Oh, that's really cool. People are going to enjoy that. I enjoy that." So,
it just seems like such a cool thing to just. I mean, something simple, but just like even XP, you just get the XP.
Yeah.
It's got its own little slot, or the cube for the health.
Yeah,
it's got
like,
a certain track.
Like to put pieces on your armor.
Yeah.
To say, "Hey, it's been hit," is different than just saying, "Hey, I'm -1 hit on my armor."
Yes.
Like it's just different. I like the tactile feel of board games. That's one of the things why we talked about on our chit chat about apps, and like I love video games for what they are, but I definitely love the feeling of putting things on things and moving my figures around. So yes, I do prefer board games. I do prefer certain video games for that experience too. So it's like they're different, and I like that Zaya gives me that feeling in the board game sense, which is what I gravitate towards more now anyway. So, I mean, I have The Witcher. I've played through it 5 times. I haven't played it through it for the 6th time in years. Okay, so
right.
Like I haven't played through it for the 6th time in years, which is weird because I used to try to play it every year, and I haven't even turned it on this year. So
too busy, man. Too busy,
man. So it's like, to me, there's a difference. So I'm glad that Zaya does these little tactile things that make it kind of cool.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome. And you mentioned, I think you said Final Fantasy at the beginning, but it's just, I think, like we're talking about video games and the board game stuff. I think this one is really capturing that, like as somebody else say, Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy, Zelda feel. Dude. How cool is that to just be like, because other board games are ambitious, right? They give you a certain feeling, but this one just seems like it does put you in one of those old school,
Yeah, and it has the touches of a lot of the Chrono Trigger is another.
Oh yeah.
What is that? Tales of like that Tales series type stuff. Oh man, I missed the Tales series. But like a lot of those types of things. It doesn't feel like tactics or anything like that. It feels like the actual adventure of walking around, like Secret of Mana. Like that kind of stuff. More top down. We're moving through the world.
Yes.
Yeah, it's got grid stuff, but it's like not the same. Like Adventure Tactics is very much a tactics type adventure tactics. Like Hoplomachus is going to be more of your Final Fantasy Tactics type stuff.
Right.
This is not. This is more the action adventure type stuff. So just even though it has like grids you're moving on, it doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel like that. Dude, it just feels good to have.
But I love that feeling. I think it looks so cool to play it. It makes me want to play it a little bit more. It's like everything else looks cool, but just the theme of it. And then on top of role playing, dude, you get to do a little bit of that, even though it's not as much as maybe I thought it was at first. But so what? You get invested into the character, right? And it's got all these cool things. I don't know. I'm excited, man.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm just excited. Like, it just feels different. I play a lot of campaign games, and I'm always shuffling them out because I'm looking for the ones that'll stick with me. And I feel like this one is gonna stick with me. Like, here's a good example of if this game stunk, I would have sent it right back to the publisher.
Right.
If I didn't feel like it was gonna work, like if I didn't feel like something was missing or something's way off, I'm like, dude, this is not
3 years for this.
I'm like, man, I would have been like, dude, I will send this back to you overnight. Right. All right. Yeah. But thankfully I played it with them. But I was also like, I want to make sure I play it on my own.
Right.
Before, I don't want to be holding on to something and be like, hey man, like, oh, hey, this game's on. No.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think people knew that about me. I'm so glad it ended up paying off, and like this fantasy thing feels different than the fantasy games I've played thus far. So it's moving other things to the side, which is great.
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
great.
It looks also like, I mean, I think they said on the Kickstarter page there's like 45 of those overworld tiles, those world
Yeah,
map tiles. I would imagine that might be like a scenario per thing. So I
yeah.
kind of feel like depending on how you explore, this kind of could be replayable, right? You got the multiple characters,
Well,
maybe. I mean, depending on what we were saying, the overall story,
well,
who knows?
hold on. Let's just keep it real. Like, what if it isn't at all, and it's just chained together?
It would
Like, you
still
go
be
from
awesome.
one, you will chain one to the other, and that means that you're not going to explore all. It's just like Zaya tiles. Like, you don't know
Yes.
where you're going.
Yes.
You don't know. Like, it comes out. Certain quests come here and there, and you're just kind of going, or you reach a certain number of quests, and then you can go over to the next one. There's
Yes.
a whole bunch of different things you can do with this. I would say allow it to develop,
Yeah.
and don't
Right.
try to pigeonhole this game.
Right.
I would say don't pigeonhole this game. You at least know that it's a big adventure game,
Yes.
and there's going to be things that you discover along the way. That's kind of like where it's at there. It's not like this saying, hey, in the world of da 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 da, you're going to see this. You're just going to go about, man.
Right.
That's
Right.
where it's at right now. And there is some small semblances of like, oh, there's your storyline,
Yes.
your character storyline. I don't know what that is, what they have in mind thus far, but it's not there. Like
Yeah.
whatever that is, it's not there yet.
Well, and that might be a good way to have it semi, like, because people are kind of concerned about the replayability. This always comes up in campaign games, right? So,
Yeah.
but if they even did something like what we were talking about, which, your character, you're able to explore that more. That might be a good way to do it, right? Because
Yeah.
if you play as a certain character, yeah, you've unlocked that overarching story for your person. But then if you
Yeah.
play it again, sure, you might know maybe some of the
Yeah.
places, but if you're able to explore your character even more for a different
Yeah.
story, that's cool.
I I struggle with people who believe they play all 40 hours of the game.
Nobody does.
I
Yeah, come
struggle
on.
with people who I mean, I played 60 plus hours of Gloomhaven.
Right,
I
right,
played probably about the same amount of time with Kingdom Death Monster.
right.
And I've never dedicated, and like Too Many Bones, probably way more than that.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I've never dedicated as much time to, man, Hexplored is pretty far up there too. So you have all these games that like I've dedicated time to, but I won't be dedicating trying to squeeze all 40 hours out of this game. I know
Right.
I won't. Like I just
Right.
know I won't. This games are on my shelf, games come in, like whatever, right?
Yeah.
But I do want to make sure I'm having a full experience every time.
Yes.
And if I didn't feel like that when I broke out Zaya, Zaya would be out of my collection.
Right, right.
So the thing is with this game, I feel like it's presenting that same open world, and it's going to give me what I need.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be worried about experiencing some of the same things
Yeah.
as I go off on my quest. It's like when you turn on an RPG, there's some of the things you already know are going to happen, but this run, you're going to do this.
Yes.
And it's the saying, or I'm going to try a completely different character because I don't know what they got, going on, or
Yeah.
just to develop that character and see that skill tree. It's like there's games where you have like the man and then you have the woman,
Yeah.
like two different characters telling the same story.
Right, right.
It's like Resident Evil where you have, one guy and then you have, like that kind of thing. Well, same thing. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know, like that's what it could be, you
Yeah.
know? So, and also since there are these different tiles, I don't feel like they'll ever be go here,
Yes.
go there. It's more like, oh, maybe we should just go this way this time. Like let's go this way, then we'll route back around. Like I feel like that's what's going to happen every time you play this game versus, oh, you're just playing the same game.
Right. Yeah, and plus, I mean, I think you're a rarity on compared to some of these people. It's like some of the, and I say this to people all the time, like, are you actually gonna, how much are you actually gonna play this game? Right. Some people are complaining, well, how I shouldn't say complaining, but questioning the replayability. And I always see this whenever campaigns launch. It's
Every
are
time.
you going to play that game this many times that that is going to be a concern? If you are exploring, if there are 45 hexes in here to explore, if you explore each of those, every little bit, haven't you gotten your money's worth? Haven't you experienced the full game? How much more do you need?
I mean, experiencing it with new people, new characters,
Yes.
and just going, even if you, I mean, the order of how things are, the difficulty of combat, that takes time.
Yes.
That takes your time. That actually takes your time. But I'm not going to overpitch to a bunch of nerds like us because the answer is always yes, right? I'm going to play everything. Like,
Right.
no, you're not.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
the answer is always yes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to play. Well, me and my group, we play everything all the time. Okay, well, great for you. I'm just saying, if you play that much, if you play 40 hours of any game, you've gotten your money's worth.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You've gotten your money's worth. Trust me, you have. You know?
If you are concerned because you're like, hey, I'm going to play it with a separate group. Yeah, but that whole group is going to be able to experience it new as well. So that experience in of itself is going to be new. Right. Because not everybody is going to take the same actions or same, you know what I mean? So
as long as you're not a quarterback, right?
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. Yeah.
It's okay to own the rules, but as long as you're not a quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm kind of running out of things to talk about. Do you have any additional things that you might want to that we didn't say?
No. I think we got it all. We covered a lot of stuff, man. Hopefully, me blabbering on got people to where they want to go. I'm sure they'll come back to the Kickstarter page and have like, oh, he said this, he said that. That's totally fine with me. Yeah. But I mean, you got to understand, it's my impression. A lot of these things are like not done. I don't know for sure, right? But I do know one thing. I'm happy. I'm happy with where it's at. So and I think a lot of people will. Honestly, there's always going to be stuff I don't think people are going to be interested in, or they're going to find, like I said, the combat to be fiddly, or the role-playing points to be kind of weird. But I don't know, man. I think it's in a good place to me.
I agree. I haven't even played it, but from what I see, I can kind of visually see how it's going to play out, because I think they did a pretty decent job on the Kickstarter page. I kind of get a feeling from, at least from what they show, about like I can see that clicking, right? I can see myself having fun with, oh, the combat, that looks interesting, right? The components going to be sweet. Oh, getting to put your XP or your new weapons and stuff on there. I think overall everything looks, and the art looks fantastic, dude. Like the boards.
Yeah, it's you look like exactly how I felt when I was playing.
Yeah.
By the way, I was ready for this game so bad, I backed it and didn't even look at the page. So then I had to go back. Like I think I went back like a day later and just kind of scrolled down. And the only thing I remember seeing that I wanted to see was that there was more characters in the 4.
Yeah.
That's it.
Right.
So I was like, after that, I'm like, I'm good. Like, I was like, I don't need to see all that. I was like, I don't need to see all this stuff.
Well, and I think they just announced a seventh character.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know everything. I don't know like behind the sheets or but whatever. But yeah, I just backed the game. I'm a backer just like y'all.
Right.
I'm out. Yeah. You know.
Well, and I know you said you're happy. So overall thoughts? Did you have fun? How much fun is this game? What are you? And you said you already backed, right? So I always call those no hezzy, no pump fakes. We just do it. I just had fun. And playing with the designer is fun, right? Because they sell you on everything. But to have it sit down and want to play it for half a day like you would for Zaya, like you just play and just explore. And he did it again. Yeah. And I hope that what ships is similar to what I experienced and better, which I expect. Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome, man. I am so excited for this. I already put out enough videos on Iridia. I'm pumped about this game, dude. It looks fantastic, dude.
It's okay to be excited about a product, man. Like, come on, man. Like, we look forward to our next campaigns, but I look forward to knowing, and I love that I have this advantage, honestly.
Yeah.
Because when I share these games, and like I make sure I share ones that I think are worth sharing. And it's like, I can't wait for other people to experience what I'm experiencing. Right. Hopefully they get what I'm seeing, and then it ends up even being better by the time this thing comes. Yeah. Because if it doesn't, I'm ripping it to shreds. We're getting to that point where I'm starting to get the final copies of games that I've been previewing over the years. Right. And it's like, I swear to God, if this game's bad, I'm ripping it to shreds.
That's hilarious, man.
It to shreds.
Well, you've done a fantastic job. I think expressing, how you've played the game. Like I said, you have the thread on Board Game Geek. I will post that. And there might be some things that we haven't discussed that are on that thread. So it's good to check out. I think everybody should check out if you want additional information. But yeah, man, that's all I had, dude. I'm excited. I'm pumped, man.
Yeah, thank you, man, for having me on here, dude. It's good to just talk this game. Yeah. Hopefully people get their questions answered. They'll probably have more, but that's fine. You can find me in the thread. I'll jump back in here and answer what I can, man.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
And seriously, dude, I want to thank you for taking the time to hop on here. Really excited. Thank you for sharing all your thoughts, details.
Yeah,
Really
man.
looking forward to it, man.
No, I'm actually excited for you, man. You have all this good content. I'm glad you do these deep dives. Deep dives are fun.
Yeah.
You know, and they're informative. And sometimes people feel like you're blabbering on. It's like, yeah, I am, because I'm excited. Like,
It's so hard to not blabber on though, because
yeah.
there's especially if there's so much you want to talk about, you just can
Yeah.
kind of lose yourself,
Dude,
you know?
this is about the conversation.
Right.
You
Right.
know, some people are down to have the conversation. Some people just hit the highlights.
Right.
You get a bit of both, right?
Yeah,
Find both. That's why you subscribe to more than one channel.
Yeah, that's
you know.
right.
But it's like, hey, you're sitting down, you having a drink, chilling.
Yeah, right.
Let's talk.
That's
know,
what it's
let's
about,
talk
man.
board games.
That's
yeah,
it.
Man.
That's
So
it.
if you ever want to have me on just to chat about board games, we can do it in the daytime or we can do it at night.
Hey, man, that's what I was gonna say. I had a lot of fun. I think we should definitely do this again.
Yeah. Get myself some of my scotch out there, and we can just have have a good old time, man.
I'll join you. I'll join you, man. Well, guys, thank you for watching. Jeremy, again, thank you so much for hopping on. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask him in the thread. I will post a link to that. And other than that, man, thank you so much for coming on. Hopefully we can do it again.
Thank you. Take care of party people, man. Thank you so much.
And guys, that's going to be Brews and Board Games. Till I see you guys next time, grab some brews, play some games. I'll see you guys later. All right, take care.